All right, hello and welcome to the Train at M.D.W's Football Talk. We're going to talk about the AFC West comings and goings so far since the Super Bowl and getting ready for the draft. I am your host, the D Train, and with me as always, the modern day warrior. How you doing tonight?
I am living. That's a very
L
vague
I
answer.
Livin, living. All right. I don't have too many notes to go over from the last show. I've had a few people reach out with some complaints. I love it. Please keep them coming. Thank you for watching. Hope you're enjoying. We're coming up with more ideas. We're going to keep D Train and M.D.W's football talk going at least all the way up to the regular season. Then, if we'd like something, we may keep going through the regular season. We'll see. But for now, it's talking about these offseason moves as we are 2 weeks away from the draft. 2 weeks away from the draft?
We're, we're still quite a ways.
I love the draft. All right. Well, defending Super Bowl champs are in this division. Seems like that's a good place to start because everything that's going to happen in the AFC West has to go through Kansas City, and the draft happens to be in Kansas City this year. So, it's been a rough offseason in my estimation for the Chiefs. While they've made some interesting acquisitions, it's definitely been about cutting or minimizing their losses. Both offensive tackles are gone. Juju Smith-Schuster, gone. Frank Clark, gone. You know, some other key players as well, including backup quarterback Chad Henne, who you may remember has made some key victories for them when Mahomes has been down. So that, to me, is a big piece because it could come down to you need your backup to keep going. Henny's always been able to do it for the Chiefs. He's not going to be there anymore. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of losses here. I don't know that I want to pick on anything in particular. I like the Jawan Taylor signing. It definitely offsets losing Andrew Wiley. It does not offset losing Orlando Brown Jr. Even if they do move him over to left tackle, it's still just not equal. Frank Clark, even though he was aging, I still think put up great numbers off the edge. I don't know that Charles Amenehu, I don't know if I'm saying that right, don't know that he's an equal replacement. Obviously, that was what he was brought in for, though. As far as draft picks go, they've got every round covered. They got 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 7th. So typical Andy Reid stat fashion, they've been trading back, collecting extra picks. They'll probably utilize those to maneuver around as needed to get pieces that they like or pieces that they want. I don't think I have much else to say on draft picks or the additions, departures. What do you like there?
Well, first of all, I want to start out my end by saying they don't have the man, the myth, the legend anymore, Chad Henne. So so we're already off to a bad start there.
You have backup
they're
quarterbacks.
What I like them. There's a few of them I like. All right, and I know I'm a funny guy. Anyway, their key departure column here is very concerning. I will agree with you that Orlando Brown protecting Mahomes' blind side. He was a very key contributor to their playoff implications and playoff games. So it's got them into a Super Bowl. It kept Mahomes upright. Losing safety Jawan Thornhill and Frank Clark are some pretty big losses. Juju also helped Patrick Mahomes a lot with his passing game. I don't know if he got a. I don't know if Juju was a 1,000-yard receiver or not, but he didn't really have to be to help that offense go. Andrew Wiley is kind of a depth piece loss, so they can easily. I think they already did with Jawan Taylor replace Andrew Wiley, but yeah.
But
And
the
then
key being, Juwan Taylor cannot play both left and right tackle. He can only play one or the other. So
yeah.
they've still got to replace Orlando Brown.
Well, I mean, they replaced one of those holes. They just gotta get 2 tackles at least. And oh yeah, I said they also got Charles Ominu. I mean, that's a key. That's a key rotational guy on their edge. And then linebacker Drew Tranquil. I'd say he's a solid linebacker. I think the Chiefs have a. Have you seen the Chiefs linebacking core? I mean, they have like 3 guys that are on their rookie deal, so they have a very young linebacking core. And then Mike Edwards, kind of a depth piece there. I don't know if he's going to be a starter or not, what their plans are for him, but
I think his plan is to replace Thornhill.
you think
That's
so?
pretty obvious.
Hmm.
That's a better replacement. That's a better piece for piece than M.D.W trying to replace Frank Clark.
I mean,
Are you with us today? Is your head on? Are you actually listening to yourself even?
I mean, I just have a different opinion on Charles. I mean, I'm not saying Charles Ominu is a great player. I'm just saying that he's a solid rotationary piece.
But you're replacing Frank Clark with him. Frank Clark
Well,
was
I know.
not a rotational piece.
Yeah, no, I know Frank Clark wasn't Frank Clark was a solidified starter. I don't know about Charles though.
I understand what you don't know. What I'm trying to say is what you're saying is he's a replacement, an adequate replacement for Frank Clark, and he's not. It's not even close.
I mean, I think if Charles,
there's a reason. Look over here on the far right of the screen where it says key positions needed, edge and offensive tackle. That's because they've got to fix what they've lost in Frank Clark and Orlando Brown Jr. Juwan Taylor and Charles M.D.W are not those replacements. That's why there's still the top 2 losses are edge and offensive tackle.
I mean, and I somewhat agree with that. I think they got to go ahead and find out a solidified starter. And so
okay.
I think the key additions. I mean they did.
Close we are.
Can you hear me?
Hello? You interrupt me and then you just stop talking.
Oh. I mean, I think they made some interesting moves in key additions, but they still have some major holes to fill. I mean, especially on the defensive side, a receiving core needs a lot of work too. I think they have kept like one receiver, and that Sky Moore who's still on his rookie deal. But yeah, I mean, they still have a lot of holes to fill.
All right, let's see what the Sporting News has to say about this.
What'd you say?
Hello? You interrupt me and then you stop talking. You just keep interrupting. What do you got to say?
Well,
I haven't heard you say anything new the last 3 times you've interrupted me.
Well, I was going to say something about their draft picks. I think they have a lot of draft picks to kind of figure out where they want to do and where, or what kind of holes they want to fill. Yeah, as you said, they have a draft pick in every round. They have 2 4th-rounders. So I mean, this is going to provide a lot of opportunities for them to go get something and fill a lot of those holes. So I think the expectation is still going to be very high for the Chiefs to make another deep Super Bowl run this upcoming year.
Okay, are we ready to hear what the Sporting News has to say now that I've let you finish for the 5th time?
Yeah, so go ahead.
All right, thank you. So the Chiefs' rating is a C. They're ranked 23rd overall so far in the offseason pickups. The Sporting News says losing 2 tackles, a key wide receiver, a fullback, and a backup are tough hits for the offense, as well as another ambiguous veteran running back situation. GM Brett Veach made an interesting decision to choose the former Jaguar Taylor over Brown while scrambling for some defensive replacements. So, like what I was saying, they haven't done well. So what the Sporting News is saying, basically. All right, now we look at what they need: edge rusher, offensive tackle, wide receiver, defensive line. I think are all obvious. Not sure why tight end is up there. Running back, I don't know why they need a running back, but it's up there. At safety, depth piece is all I can think of there. Those top 4, though, definitely places they need starters, not backups. They need starters. You're not going to get 4 starters out of a draft very often. Not to start in their rookie year, anyway.
No, probably not.
So you say they're ready to make another deep run in the playoffs to another Super Bowl. I don't see it. I think they're going to struggle this year, but I could be wrong. It's not like their division is overly solid, and we'll get into that as we talk about some of these other teams. You got anything else to say about their needs?
No, I mean maybe. I will agree with you. I don't know why tight end or running back is on there. But all of these other positions that they need on their team needs list here, are definitely positions that they need starters. I mean, and as you just said before, I mean, if you can get like 4 different starters in the draft or your draft class, I mean, that's an amazing draft class, right there. But the odds of that happening are not very great.
Especially when you're picking at the end of every round, basically.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, I guess it is time for the modern day Warrior bullseye pick. It looks like we're picking for number 31 in the first round. Who do you got for the Chiefs?
All right. For the Chiefs, for the 31st pick, I have the Chiefs taking Jalen Hyatt, receiver out of Tennessee.
Maybe a little bit high, and I'm not sure he's a go-to receiver. I would have liked to have seen edge rusher there. I think that's probably a bigger need than the wide receiver. They still got Valdez-Scantling and a few other guys at wide receiver. Yeah, I guess wide receiver makes as much. Like I say, they need starter at 4 positions, so it's going to be a hard draft for me, for the Chiefs. But you know what? They got home field advantage for the draft, so no matter who they pick, or if they even pick at all, the hometown crowd is going to be cheering for them.
Yeah.
All right, time to go off the rails with the Kansas City Chiefs. I kind of already alluded to it. I think this team is ready for a fall this year. I think we see the Chiefs come back down to being mortals. Mahomes is still Mahomes, so I think that keeps them in the playoff race. But my off-the-rails prediction for the Kansas City Chiefs is they don't make the playoffs this year at all. I do think they'll be about an 8-9, 7-10 type team, just outside of the playoff picture. But I think I like other teams in the AFC a lot more, and I think the Chiefs struggle this year.
That's not too far off of it off the rails.
That was not as outlandish as some of my others, I'll admit. I didn't move them to Nicaragua or something like that.
No.
All right, let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Oh, man. So draft pick-wise, we're looking at 1 pick in every round. No big deal there. Nothing to comment on. Key additions, 1, Eric Kendricks. That's it. I think that replaces Drew Tranquill or Kyle Van Noy fine. Doesn't replace the other one. But not a lot of key losses either, other than the 2 linebackers. And maybe the backup quarterback, Chase Daniel. But it's a backup quarterback. Let's face it, if you're going to your backup, you're already thinking it's a step down. So I don't know that any of the losses are huge. I like Kendricks. I think it's a leadership piece coming in. I I think he's past his prime, but what he may give you in veteran leadership might be key. So I like the addition. I'm not crazy about the overall layout here.
Yeah, the the Chargers are an example of a team that they they haven't really done much of anything. But I mean, they got one player like an Eric Kendricks that, yeah, as you said, is a great leader, and he's a pretty damn good linebacker. But I don't know if he can replace Tranquil and Kyle Van Noy. Um, the, as in some of their other departures that you see on the list, um, I don't think any of them are overly important. So, at least from what I see. But yeah, I I think it is meh. That's like the best I can give it. But they still get a few holes to fill. I don't know how much of these trade rumors of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Um,
I do
tight
find it
end.
funny. I do find it funny. They've got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and yet over here on their team needs list, wide receiver is number one. To me, that says you're already thinking about moving on from those two guys and looking at bringing somebody in. But
Yeah, I I yeah. The Chargers definitely need some defensive line help. Khalil Mack isn't getting any younger. Wait, is he still with the team? Khalil Mack? I mean,
yes, yes.
oh, okay. And I mean, you got Mack and Bosa, but I think you could use an additional piece there on the D line. Um, running back, Austin Eckler wants out. They don't really have a good back behind him that they can just put as a starter. So I had to imagine they're
Well,
probably going to be looking for
now we're
that.
hearing rumors. Now we're hearing rumors that Eckler wants to be traded, so
Yeah,
he may not even be there.
yeah, you definitely have a point there. Defensive back, I'm a little bit hit and miss on this one. Uh, I mean, because Derwin James is definitely a leader in that secondary, but he can play a little corner, but I think they're relying more on Asante Samuel Jr. To kind of be that staple point in that defensive back core anyway, and kind of letting
All right.
Derwin James be that safety.
Let's see what the Sporting News has to say. Uh, just before we do, I will throw out there re-signing Morgan Fox, the defensive tackle, and re-signing Donald Parham, the tight end. I think gave you good depth pieces that they didn't have to go out and replace that way. They also did keep a quarterback. It says Chase Daniel they lost, but they did re-sign Easton Stick, the third string quarterback, who might be ready to be the backup, and that's why they let Daniel go. I don't know. The Sporting News gave them a C minus grade, ranked them 27th. They said the Chargers weren't meant to be key players here with Tom Telesco after the big splurges of J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack last offseason. They took some key hits at linebacker as expected, and there was more treading water here. So they're kind of like us. They're treading water. It'll be interesting to see if they pull out a good draft that maybe gets them a couple exciting pieces to add to what is really a pretty good team already. And I think, my opinion is, if you got Herbert, you can compete because I think he's a good enough quarterback to keep you in the running. And as long as
I
they've
did
still
forget
got
about
Eckler, Williams, and Allen, I think they've got targets for it.
no. I did forget about J.C. Jackson, by the way. I did forget about him.
Yeah, with Samuel and Jackson, I think they're set at corner. I like their safeties. Obviously, Derwin James is awesome, even though he plays almost a safety linebacker hybrid. And maybe with Drew Tranquil and Kyle Van Noy losses, maybe he plays more linebacker than he plays safety. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
So, all right, are you ready to make the modern day Warrior bullseye pick? Looks like we're looking at pick number 21 for the Los Angeles Chargers.
I get the full screen. All right, for the Chargers, for the 21st pick, I have them going with Nolan Smith, edge rusher out of Georgia.
Wow, that would be a huge hit. He falls down to 20. I like it. Man, Khalil Mack on one side, Nolan Smith on the other. Man, I can't find any faults in that. You still got Joey Bosa, too. I think other quarterbacks would fear that defense. That's for sure.
I think they would too.
That's for sure. That's not a bad pick. And 21st might be a little low. I keep hearing him more around that 14, 15, 16, 17 mark. But if he made the slide to 21, yeah, he would definitely fit with the Chargers. It would be a good addition. I can't say a bad thing about it.
So how is that bullseye pick for Wentz?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's not a bullseye if you don't hit it. You know, you're taking 32 swings here, and you're probably not going to hit 5 of them.
Probably not, but
All right, time for D-Train to go off the rails with the Los Angeles Chargers here. You know, my off the rails prediction started with the Chargers actually, and I was going with the Los Angeles Chargers bringing another Super Bowl trophy to Los Angeles, but I backed off on that. So what I am going to say is I think the Chargers put on a hell of a record this year if they keep all the pieces. They start trading away receivers and running backs. Obviously, it changes for me. But at this moment, I like them to go 15-2, maybe even 16-1. I think they have a hell of a season. I think they probably are number 1 seed in the AFC. I don't think they make the Super Bowl because I just like the Bengals too much. But I think they make a hell of a run. Maybe that's not as off the rails as I should be, but that's where I see the Los Angeles Chargers.
I see ya.
All right. Moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders. And I had to put it on a sticky note right here on the side of my computer to make sure I said Las Vegas instead of Oakland or Los Angeles. I just cannot get used to saying it. The Raiders belong in California, and I can't get it out of my head. Although I've been to Vegas with the Raiders there. I love the stadium. They fit the town overall. But I can't get used to saying it. Obviously, lots of changes for the Raiders coming into this season. Let's start with the draft picks. Pretty ho-hum there. They've got one in every round, an extra 5th and an extra 7th. So we'll move on to the key additions, key departures. Obviously, we got to start with the quarterbacks. Derek Carr is gone. The Derek Carr era is over with the Raiders. In comes Jimmy Garoppolo. And I don't think they're done bringing in quarterbacks. I think you're going to get a rookie with this team. I don't know if it's going to be first round or maybe second, third round, but I think they're going to go get a rookie to learn behind Garoppolo. And Lord, we know Garoppolo needs that again, like he needs a hole in the head, right? He's had to worry about Trey Lance and then Brock Purdy the last 2 years. Now he's going to the Raiders, and I think he's going to be dealing with the same thing. He's going to be grooming the next guy up. I don't care, good or bad, the move from Carr to Garoppolo. I feel like you moved sideways, but obviously you're putting yourself on a plan for life after Garoppolo. It was a short-term deal. I can't remember. It was 2 or 3 years. They're not committing long-term to Garoppolo. Obviously, if they don't draft a quarterback this year, it'll be draft one next year. He's simply a placeholder until they get the next franchise guy. Other than that, let's see. Darren Waller, trading him away, I thought was maybe the biggest mistake of the offseason for them. I hate that move. Flat out hate it. I would have kept Waller pretty much over every other player on the team. I think that's your franchise piece because it gives you a player that could be top 2 or 3 at his position. And I don't know that they have another one. Some people would say Josh Jacobs. Yeah, when he's healthy, he gets hurt a lot. I don't see any others. Like I said, that would be the one that you had a chance at having the best at his position. They did go out and get Austin Hooper to replace him. And O.J. Howard's coming in as well. Maybe two's better than one type theory there. That's about all I can say there. The other pieces they've signed, obviously, are depth pieces. They're hole fillers. Um, they're coming in with a new coaching idea, at least behind it. I think Jacoby Myers. I think he's overrated, but he knows the system theoretically that your favorite guy McDaniels is trying to run. So that makes sense a little bit. That wide receiver group gives somebody that knows what Daniels is trying to do. Other losses, let me see if I missed anybody. Uh, Clellian Farrell, the edge rusher. I always thought they drafted him too high, but I thought he's played at least decent. I don't think he's been great, but definitely decent. Mac Hollins, to me, is probably equal to the Philip Dorsett, so that's probably a trade sideways. Rock Sin definitely underperformed so far in his career. You said the other day Denzel Perryman is a solid veteran. You liked him going over to the Texans. I don't think it's a huge loss for the Raiders. Um, I think they've probably replaced him well with Robert Spillane. So flip here, there, whatever. It's going to matter what they do at pick number 7. Do they get somebody in there that can actually fill a hole, or is that pick used to get a future quarterback? That could be interesting to watch there. What are your thoughts on additions, departures, overall on the
Oh,
Raiders?
oh boy. Okay, where do I start here? Uh, they definitely have made a lot of additions. They've also had a lot of departures. There's a few things that I will agree on. There's one specific thing I will disagree with you on. Um, I will agree with you on Darren Waller was one of their best players on defense, but I will give a lot of credit to Max Crosby, their edge rusher. I think he is a, one of
Wait,
the best at his
wait,
position.
wait, stop, time out. Darren Waller
Uh-oh.
didn't play defense. Darren Waller's a tight end, Ethan.
Well, I know he is.
You just said he was
Uh,
one of their best edge rushers on defense.
oh, I'm Max Crosby.
That's not what you said.
Oh, I
You did say Max
or
Crosby also, but you said Darren Waller.
oh I must have got him confused or mixed. Anyway, Darren Waller is a tight end. Max Crosby is an edge rusher. Anyway, I I think they made a few interesting departures. Darren Waller was definitely a slight and what from my opinion at least it was definitely a slight head scratcher. I didn't completely understand the move. Um, Derek Carr, I don't understand it either. Um, I think it's just Josh McDaniels trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do with this team right now. Jimmy Garoppolo, it's a placeholder at best. Not a he's not a step down or a step up. It's just it's the side step from what they had. Jacoby Myers in their addition column. Um, yeah, he's a solid depth piece. I don't think he's anything special. Marcus Epps. I mean, I think they got rid of one of their safeties in Jonathan Abrams. So I mean, I think he's good enough to be that next guy to replace Abrams. But Bill Dorsett, he's a lot like Matt Collins. You're not gonna he won't do much for you. Same with Cam Sims. OJ Howard's a very interesting. He's not. I mean, OJ Howard is no Darren Waller, and I will never say he is. I mean, this is a simple depth piece again, and a lot like Duke Shelley and David Long are. Austin Hooper, that tight end in the additions, is definitely a very interesting piece. I think he'll definitely be competing for the starting role at tight end there. But again, I think they're going to be going quarterback in the top 10 to see who the franchise guy is going to be. But I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of upgrading from the Raiders to really make us like. I don't think they've made a lot of significant improvements to their team anyway. But that's just my thoughts on it.
All right, let's read the sporting news thoughts on the Raiders because they see it differently than we do. That's for sure. They gave them an A- grade. They've got them in the top 10 as far as off-season maneuvers. I don't see it, but here's what they said. The Raiders put more in motion the offense and overall plans of Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler here. McDaniels got two key system players in Myers and Garoppolo to fit him better than Carr and Waller did. They went a little to work on the defense and should build on that and the offensive line in the draft, where they no longer are forced to take quarterback at number 7. So the Sporting News saying the maneuvers they made means they don't have to take quarterback at number 7. And overall, I will agree with that. I do think they don't have to at that number 7 pick. But I do think they've got to address it in the next, either this year's draft, first, second, third round, or next year's draft, first, second, third round. They've got to go get a quarterback or got to go get a different free agent next year.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I think that I think the way they're set up, I mean, they don't have to go with quarterback. And I will say that their grading system's interesting. I mean, we may not always agree, but it's definitely interesting. Yeah, with the way they're set up, they could roll with Jimmy G for the year and just see how that fares. But a quarterback doesn't help.
But even if you're going with
I
him
mean,
for the year, you need a young quarterback in there to learn from him and potentially take over, not next year, but the year after. So let's say, you know,
okay.
I think the other thing in the rating system that maybe I'm not giving them enough credit because I didn't read it is some of the re-signings they did make. Franchise tagging Josh Jacobs. They re-signed offensive tackle Brandon Parker. They re-signed both their backup running backs with Amir Abdullah and Jacob Johnson. Re-signing defensive tackle Jerry Tillery. Re-signing offensive tackle Jermaine Ellamore and wide receiver Keenan Cole. They made some key re-signings too. They had a very active offseason, and I think maybe that's why the Sporting News is ranking it as high as they are. But let's face it, the Raiders lost the best quarterback to move in this year's free agency, which was Derek Carr. They replaced him with what was arguably the second best option. So if you're going to move on from Carr, which they made it very apparent they were going to, they did go out and get the best option they could in free agency to at least buy them time. They don't have to draft a quarterback number 7 this year. Let's say Levis doesn't drop that far, or Anthony Richardson doesn't drop that far. They don't want to give up the draft capital to go up and get one of them. Then there's probably not a quarterback for them at number 7. They have to go somewhere else. But if those 4 quarterbacks go in the top 6, then at number 7, the Raiders are going to be looking at either the edge rusher Young out of Texas Tech, possibly the Georgia defensive tackle, Jalen Carter
Jalen Carter. Yeah.
is still sitting there, or the top 2 quarterbacks are still sitting there with either Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon. You know, at that point, and plus you would have all the offensive tackles still sitting there. So whether you like Skoronski or you like the Ohio State kid, that I can't come up with the name right now.
Paris Johnson.
Paris Johnson Jr., yeah. No matter who you've got as your top offensive tackle, you could go there even. So sitting at number 7, I think, is important for them. I don't think they need to get nervous and trade up to get one of those quarterbacks because you do have Garoppolo. Wait till number 7. See what's there. If the quarterback falls to there and that's the best thing on the board, fine, take him. But if the quarterbacks aren't there, that's going to be some really good talent has fallen to you at the offensive tackle, at the edge rusher, at the defensive tackle, or at the quarterback. You're going to have options.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just, yeah.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that it's not all about drafting quarterback. I mean, as you said, I mean, if the right quarterback does fall into their laps, I mean, go ahead and take it. But if it's not, there are other opportunities such as edge rushers, offensive linemen that are still good at what you're wanting to draft them at. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world if they don't have their quarterback.
Yeah, no. With Garoppolo, I think that gives you the luxury of waiting on quarterback if you have to. And I've said it before. I've said it with my Texans at number 2 even. I'm not crazy about this year's quarterback class. I know everybody's just oohing and ahhing over these top 4 quarterbacks, I hate to say it, I don't think maybe one of them is going to pan out. Maybe one of them. I couldn't even tell you which one because they all have the potential to be good and they all have reasons why they won't be good. So I'm not crazy about this offensive quarterback draft class, but I love some of these other players that are just kind of getting ignored because of the popularity of the quarterbacks. You know, the two edge rushers at the top, I love both of them. The Jalen Carter, I love. The top two corners, I love. Even the top two receivers in this draft, I like both of them. You're not hearing anything about them in the top 10. And then you get to the offensive tackles. I think two, maybe even three of them are top 10 caliber, and some of them are going to still be available as low as 15, just because of these quarterbacks up at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one.
So, all right, we've talked about their team needs overall. I don't think we need to go any more into that. I think we're down to time for the modern day Warrior bullseye pick at number 7 for the Raiders. Who do you got?
Well, for the Raiders at the 7th overall pick, I am saying that the right quarterback for them will follow them, and they will take that opportunity with Will Levis, so quarterback out of Kentucky.
Will Levis out of Kentucky. If they've got a high enough grade on him and he falls to that point, okay, I guess. For me, that's a wasted 7th overall pick because you signed Garoppolo for a reason. You signed him to start this next year at least. Although I think grooming a quarterback is what you need to do, and you're going to be passing on some really good top line talent to do so. So we'll see. We'll see. I've sit here and bashed the Raiders for all this turnover. Now, are you ready for the D trade off the rails prediction for the Raiders?
I am ready.
All right. Well, I already said I got the Chargers potentially with maybe the best record in football, and I got the Chiefs missing the playoffs. I actually see the Raiders right between the two. I think Garoppolo comes in and he runs this offense efficiently, which is all he's ever done everywhere he's been. He's efficient. He's not great. He's not spectacular, but he gets the job done. And just like he did in San Francisco, he put him in the playoffs, or he put him in position to be in the playoffs. He put him in position to win in the playoffs. He put him in position to advance in the playoffs. And then the rest of the team has to step up and do their parts. I think Garoppolo does that again here. I think the Raiders do get a wild card. I think they are in the playoffs. I think they could even make a deep run in the playoffs. Maybe an upset in the first round. Maybe they're the team that takes out the Cleveland Browns, who are ahead at 13-3. Maybe they're the team that upsets whoever shows up from the AFC East. I think the Raiders are dangerous, as is. But I also have them taking a player at number 7 that can make an impact. For me, it's going to be one of those defensive options, either the tackle or one of the edge rushers. So Crosby has somebody else to work with on that front 7 and makes them a little bit more legitimate, a little bit more dangerous. That's my predictions for the Raiders. I think top playoff team or top wild card playoff team, and they do some damage.
All right.
I think you're speechless unless I go really crazy with these. You have to understand the AFC South is full of bad teams. It was easy to go crazy there. The
Oh
AFC
yeah,
West,
really.
there's a lot of solid teams. It's harder to go crazy. Yeah. Speaking of crazy, the Denver Broncos qualify. All right.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Broncos don't have a first or second round pick. They got 2/3, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. But additions, departures, they have a plenty. But let's face it, the key here for the Broncos is, are they ready to move on from Russell Wilson yet? Because as long as they're going to keep that man at quarterback, they're going to suck. It's that simple. He's done. He can't play in this league. He's proven that. Move on. But that was last year's key addition. Let's look at this year's. We've got offensive line. They went and got some pieces to sure up that offensive line. Ben Powers I actually like a lot. Mike McGlinchey not as much. But good pieces, obviously addressing a problem they had last year. I get it. Samaje Perine, good backup running back. Doesn't do a lot for me. Michael Burton they brought in. They lost their fullback Andrew Beck,
Oh,
so that's a this for that. That's not that big a deal. Now, Jarrett Stidham, was he brought in to be the next quarterback? Maybe. Maybe. I don't think he's good enough. He wasn't good enough in New England. He wasn't good enough with the Raiders. But who knows? Maybe he can be good enough with the Broncos. Sean Payton has a way of reviving quarterback careers, but usually they're already pretty good quarterbacks. Zach Allen, good rotation piece, good defensive lineman. Chris Manhurst, I said when the Jaguars lost him, I actually liked him a lot. I think that's a good piece for the Broncos. I'm not mad at that one. Tremont Smith, good secondary guy, solid. The wide receivers, I don't get at all. Marquise Callaway, Marquez Goodman. Uh, Obviously, these are pieces that Peyton wanted. That's all I can say about him. I don't like him. I know we keep hearing rumors that the Broncos may trade away Judy or Sutton at the draft for a draft pick. I hear Sutton may go for a second, whereas Judy might get a third, but they're willing to move either one of those guys. That could be really interesting after day one to hear what the trade rumblings are. If there's a certain player out there that the Broncos covet. I, for one, my Texans have a top pick in the second round. If we don't address wide receiver in the first round, which I think is possible at this point, would I give up a number 2 for Sutton? Yeah, in a heartbeat. Even if it is the second overall pick in the second round, because Sutton's that good. And if I could do the same in the third and get a Judy, maybe I'm looking at that. So I got to think other teams would too. Then we go to departures. Draymond Jones, yeah, a plug. Definitely a plug on the defensive line. I like him. Glasgow was good, but I think Powers is better. So they improved there. They basically rehauled their running back class. They're wanting the kid to get healthy. What's his name? Oh crap! What's their running back's name?
oh yeah, Devontae Williams.
Yeah, Williams can't stay healthy to save his life, but that's what they want. They want him to get healthy and not have to worry about it. Um, Maybe Samaje Perine is the good backup this year. I think they'll probably look to make another draft pick or a backup addition somewhere else. Also, Darby, not a big loss there. The fullback they already replaced. The tight end, Saubert, they definitely upgraded when they went and got Manhurts. Deshaun Williams, Calvin Anderson. Calvin Anderson, I'm a little bit upset at that one. I don't know that Mike McGlinchey is as good, but if he fits the system better, maybe it's okay. That's my basic thoughts on the additions, departures, and draft positioning. What are your thoughts?
It's like Sean Payton went, okay, we're gonna lose a lot of depth pieces, so we're just gonna get more depth pieces. I don't see a lot of upgrading here in the additions to departures area. I just don't. I see a lot of, well, we either stay the same or it's, yeah, it's a lot of it's the same. Um, Ben Powers is a solid guard. I'll give him credit for that one. Mike McGlinchey, he does flag a lot, so I mean that's a bit of a concern there. So Samaje Perine is an interesting one. I mean, if Javonte Williams is not ready to go by week 1 in September, I can see Samaje Perine getting a lot of the carries until Javonte is healthy. Jarrett Stidham is a backup. That's just what he is. I mean, if Jarrett Stidham, like if he like balls out and Wilson sucks again, then you might see a change there. But yeah, I mean, Zach Allen, I think he's a rotationary guy. Chris Manhurts, I think he's gonna be backing up. Sorry, their starting tight end is eluding me right now.
I think Manhurst will be their starting tight end.
What's that?
I think Manhurts will be their starting tight end. So I don't know who you're trying to think of.
I hate somebody. Tremont Smith. I mean, he's a depth piece. Receivers Marquez Callaway and Marquise Goodwin. Um, I don't know about those guys. I thought
They're
I think they're
flyers.
only useful. Oh, what do I not know? I
No.
I think they're only.
Callaway and Goodwin are flyers. They're speedsters. They're going to try to take the top off the defense so Judy and Sutton can get open underneath. That's what they're there for.
That's kind of what I was getting at too. Is like I I see them as depth guys. I mean, unless you're going to trade Jerry Judy or somebody else important on your receiving core, but I don't see that yet. Um, yeah, even in their departures, Draymond Jones, Graham Glasgow. I mean, Draymond Jones going to Seattle. That somewhat hurts Denver's defensive line. Um, Chase Edmonds and Ronald Darby are not huge losses by any means, and neither is Mike Boone. Eric Sauberts, I'm not sure if he was their starting tight end even. Uh, Deshaun Williams, so solid depth piece on their D line. Calvin Anderson, I will agree with you. I think he has a capabilities of being a starting offensive lineman. Just in the right scheme, and that's all. So
I think he's a good starting right tackle. Um, I do. I would say he's, I don't know, top 10 maybe in the league at right tackle. I don't think he's bad at all. I think he's been very solid for Denver. So McGlinchey's got to come in and take that spot and do better than what Anderson did, I guess.
yeah. So overall, I would say overall they have done a fair job with at least filling in some of those depth pieces. I think they need to do a little bit better with maybe getting starters or more help on the edge. I think they need a better defensive line than what they got. Offensive line they need to get a little bit better on. I mean, they got a few good additions with Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey, but I think they need more answers on that offensive line, and somewhat interior offensive line as well.
See, I like the Powers addition. I'm just not. McGlinchey doesn't do anything for me. I would have rather had Powers and Anderson if that was my option. But anyway, let's see what the Sporting News has to say.
All right.
All right. Only key re-signing was Alex Singleton at linebacker. I like Singleton. I do agree that's a good re-sign for them. They rated the they rated the Broncos offseason work as an A minus and 8th overall for the NFL. Sean Payton got 2 key offensive line upgrades on the right side, plus better backup support for Javonte Williams and Russell Wilson. So they're saying Stidham is an upgrade at backup, and they're saying that Pirine is an upgrade at backup. I would say that's agreeable. Allen is a good rebound from losing Jones, not a replacement, but a rebound. Callaway and Goodwin are worthy flyers to help Jerry Judy and Cortland Sutton. So kind of what we said on a lot of that. And I agree, Zach Allen is definitely not as good as Draymond Jones, but he definitely fills that position. Once you've lost Draymond Jones, it was, well, we need somebody to put in there that doesn't make us just fall off the earth on defensive tackle. And I think Zach Allen can do that. He could be a suitable fill-in for sure. Now, we're talking draft picks here. They have no first, they have no second. They got 2/3. And then they've got the rest of their 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Needs are abundant with this team, especially on the defensive side of the football to me. They need edge help. They need linebacker help. They need defensive line interior help. They need quarterbacks. They need safeties. My personal opinion, I think they've only got one good corner. Surtain is the only piece back there that I like. Interior offensive line, yeah, definitely could use a left guard and a center. Although, did they get the LSU center that I liked so much a few years back? What happened to him? Is he just not living up to what he was supposed to be? But edge rusher's definitely a position of need. But when they don't have a pick until the 3rd round, I don't think it's going to come out of the draft. They're going to have to go find these positions other places and then get some depth pieces in the draft. least that's how I see what they're going to have to do in the draft. What about you?
I mean, I've done some research on the Broncos. They've a lot of what you just stated. I mean, is perfectly true. They need a lot of interior help. Their offensive line got banged up to high hell last year. So they did a fair job with that, adding some unique pieces there. I mean, their draft capital does not help them in the slightest. They don't have anything overly useful unless they can get uh, unless they can get a lucky shot on one of these draft picks. But yeah, they're still gonna have some holes to fill, and I don't know if they're gonna hit on any of these draft picks. So at least in my opinion, that's a very big worry.
All right, so we've read what they said. I guess we are to the modern day Warrior bullseye pick. Interesting, they have back-to-back picks in the third round. So what I will say, we'll give the modern day Warrior a double chance here of being right. You only get to pick one player, but if he's picked 68th or 69th, we'll consider you correct. How's that?
All right. Well, since the Broncos don't pick until the third round, I will say that the Broncos, with their first pick, will take John Michael Schmitz, a center.
That would help on that offensive line. I'll give you that. I'm not. I'm not going to say that's even a bad choice. That's pretty good. Um, yeah, I don't know what else we can cover about their draft. It's going to be mostly third day picks. It looks like.
Yeah,
And we'll see how they do there. Time for D-Train to go off the rails
I think it is.
and wrap up the show. All right, Denver Broncos off the rails prediction from the D-Train. I believe the Denver Broncos are going to be the worst team in the league this year. The longer they leave Russell Wilson in, the fewer wins they get. They want to save their season. They've got to put Stidham in and hope that he does as well as he did in Oakland, and he chased Derek Carr out of town, and he chases Russell Wilson right out of town too. This team is going to suck this year. There's no way around it. They will have the number one pick overall next year in the draft if they have their first round pick next year. Otherwise, I guess Seattle will have it. But yeah, the Broncos 1 win, 2 wins tops this coming season.
All right,
like
all
that,
right.
I know you're a closet Russell Wilson fan. I know. But we've seen what he can do with talent around him. We've seen what Sean Payton can do with talent in front of him. They don't have talent. Nothing. It's not there. So this season is going to hurt for the Broncos and the Broncos fans. That's all there is to it.
All right. I see ya.
That's not that far off the
I
rail.
mean,
That's not far off the rails. That's a straight shoot, honestly.
that's true.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching. The AFC side is done. Can you believe it? We've done the whole AFC.
This one off the rails predictions you have for the Broncos will be the one that you're completely right about, won't it? Just because that's how this goes, right?
Yeah, quite possibly. So we've wrapped up the AFC West. We're done with the AFC. Next up will be the NFC East. We might bring in a special guest for that one. I've been talking to somebody, might help us out a little bit in the East, for one team anyway. But otherwise, it will be D-Train and the Modern Day Warrior breaking down the NFC East next. Hopefully this weekend we'll get some time and get one up. Otherwise, it'll be sometime next week, kind of like it has been. This one should be up by this evening. It's a Wednesday night. I should be able to get it up later tonight, and then we'll see when we can get the NFC East done. I want to say thank you to the Modern Day Warrior. This has been fun doing the AFC so far. To the point that we've been talking about what else we could do for content. When Madden comes out, we're now talking about ranking all the positions, the best players at each position, and just breaking it down. Obviously, we've still got the draft coming up. Both of us love the draft. We're going to do at least one mock draft where it's just the two of us picking. We may do a second mock draft where we let people in on the picking and get somebody to pick for each team, something like that. We've also talked about breaking down college football. breaking down each conference, doing it as a 1 hour show while we break down the SEC, while we break down the Big Ten, while we break down the Pac-12, and so on. If there's something else you would like to see the Modern Day Warrior and D-Train go over here on the football talk shows, leave it in the comments. We'll do our best to read them all and possibly do more. Thank you, Modern Day Warrior, for joining me here today. I think we are done. We are out of here.